Joe's shopping adventure with Kotlin. Joe, a confident Android developer, stands at the entrance of a tech store, eager to purchase components for his dream PC. He's got a plan and a list. With every step in the store, he's mentally organizing his shopping list using Kotlin. He even visualizes a written list to ensure he doesn't miss out on any crucial component. While browsing, Joe stumbles upon an advanced cooling system. It wasn't on his initial list, but he realizes its importance and decides to add it. As he continues, he spots a better graphics card than the one he initially chose. He replaces the older one with the new one in his list. By the end of his shopping spree, Joe not only has the components he needs, but also a dynamic Kotlin list that adjusted to his shopping decisions. The story illustrates the flexibility and utility of Kotlin lists in a real-world scenario. So now let's get back to Kotlin, where we're actually going to create a similar list, okay? So what I want to start with is going to be very basic Kotlin code. So we are going to create a shopping list, all right? So val shopping list. Now this list will first of all be a list of, like so. Now inside of list of, we can add items. So here we can go ahead and say we want to have a processor, then we want to have RAM, for example, or RAM like this. Then we want to have a graphics card. Then we want to have an SSD like so. Okay, obviously we need more for a computer than just that, but this is a starting point. So this is the list that we have. This is how we can create a list inside of Kotlin. Now this is a immutable list, all right? Immutable list. Now the problem is I cannot add anything after the fact to this list. I cannot change it. And that doesn't necessarily have to do with this val, okay? It just has to do with the fact that list of is a list that cannot be changed, all right? So if I now go ahead and use shopping list.add, you see there is no add. So there's no add method or function that I could use. Now how I can change that is by making it a mutable list. All right, let's try that again, but this time we're going to use a mutable list of. All right, and now when we use a mutable list of, we can define what data type the list of, or the list should be of, inside of those brackets that you can see here, inside of the less than greater than sign. But we can also just use what we have used before, where we directly pass the items into that list. So let me get rid of this shopping list. I just wanted to show you immutable list. So you cannot add items after the fact. So after the initialization. So after having created this list once, you cannot add anything after anymore. But with a mutable list, so this is a mutable list, you can add items later and modify. So both of them have their good reasons. Sometimes you really just need a list that you cannot edit. It has to be created once and never be changed after that. But with our shopping list, we maybe want to be able to change items later on. We want to add more items or get rid of other items. So what do we miss in our shopping list? Well, one could say we don't have a cooling system, as we saw, as our friend Joe runs through the store and wants to add a cooling system. Well, how can we now add an item? Adding items to lists. Therefore, we can just call the name of the list and then add the dot. And now you can see there are methods that we can use. So I'm calling them methods. As you can see, there is an M. Methods are basically functions that are in the context of objects. Okay, and as I said earlier, everything in Kotlin is an object, or that at least that's what the documentation said. But here we can use this method, this function. So internally it's like a function. It's basically a function, only that it's in the context of objects. So basically you could always say methods as well. Either is fine, at least in Kotlin. In other programming languages, that's not necessarily the case, for example, in JavaScript. All right, but here we have this add method that we can use, and you can see the parameters then we need to pass. So index element, or we can just pass an element. So let's just go ahead and use this add method by entering add and then the item that we want to add. So cooling system. All right, now we have this big list, the shopping list of 5 items. We have the processor, we have the RAM, the graphics card, and the SSD. So now let's say this is the graphics card that we initially had in mind, but now we go through the store and let's say that was like an RTX 3060 or so. But then we realized, holy moly, there is this thing called an RTX 4090 and we just have the budget for it. So then we could remove the old item that we have. So shopping list dot remove. So this is how we can remove an item, and we can remove either at the index, so at the position inside of that list, or we can remove a specific item by its name. We can also remove the first or the last item. This is also super valuable, but we're going to see how that works later on. So how can we now remove our graphics card? Well, we can, inside of brackets, use that exact same name that we had there, and now we will have removed that item. Okay, so now we can go ahead and use our shopping list to add a new graphics card, and this one will be the 4090, just because we can. And suddenly we have this super amazing gaming PC, and we can go totally nuts with it. So this was just a little bit of an introduction into lists. Now the thing is, let's print out this list, shopping list, and let's see what our IDE is going to give us with it. Therefore, let me run my basics.kt, and it's the first execution of the day. So the Gradle needs to build everything from scratch here again. And we can see what is inside of our list. So we have the processor, we have the RAM, SSD, cooling system, and the graphics card RTX 4090. And you can see the order has changed. So before that, our graphics card was at position number 3, so index 2. I will tell you how indexes work in the next video. But that's basically what this graphics card position was. And now, if we look at the results, it's at the end now. That's because we deleted it from the middle position, you could say, and we added another item with a different name at the end of the list. So whenever you use add, like we did, without adding the index, we add it at the end. So let's look at what the index is in the next video. So what you should take away from this video is that you can store multiple pieces of information. This could be just strings, it could be integers, but it can also be all other kinds of data. It can also be objects that we create based on our own classes, or objects based on other classes that have been created by Kotlin itself. All right, so lists are not limited to simple data types. They are also available or capable of working with complex data types. All right, so see you in the next video where we're going to look at index.